Okay, we're live. Carlos, hello. Nice to see you. You're looking very, very summery today on our show.
Hey, I got my Hawaiian shirt. Check it out.
Yeah, it's funny you're wearing that because my mom was saying we should go to Hawaii because we've been locked up for over a year. She's like, oh, I just want to get on a plane and go to Hawaii. And look at you, you're wearing a Hawaiian shirt. So I feel like, this is that synchronicity thing where I'm getting signs from the universe that I need to go to Hawaii.
Guys to invite me, right?
Yeah, you can come with us.
Take me to Hawaii. But glad to be here this beautiful morning, Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Here in Hollywood. It's sunny outside and it's getting extremely hot out there. It's been pretty hot, in the area. But glad to be here with everyone.
Yes, absolutely. We're happy to be here, and thank you everyone for joining us. You're watching Stand Up, Fight Back, where we talk about strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. We air every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Margaret Pius. I'm a scientist, engineer, and occasional journalist, and this is my co-host, the amazing grassroots organizer, Carlos Maruquin. We do actually have guests today. Our guests will be joining us a little bit later, and we were hoping to start off with a candidate who's running for Riverside City Council, but we're having a little bit of trouble getting a hold of him right now. We're hoping maybe he might join us a little later. But at the bottom of the hour, we will have two guests. That's Betty Doumas-Toto and Shawn Jones. And we'll be discussing some things related to healthcare. I think Shawn was involved with Force the Vote, and he has his own organization as well. So it should be a very exciting discussion once they hop on with us. But for now, we want to just highlight a little bit of a couple of topics in the news that we're interested in, Carlos. I'm just going to bring on my screen here so we can kind of just look at a couple of these. Whoops, sorry, I lost you, Carlos. I'm going to look at a couple of these articles. So let me flip over here because I've got it on my other computer. So yeah. So this is, I don't really like Fox, but it was one of the free articles. So I would have used the Financial Times one, but I had to pay for a subscription. So anyway, so this I think people have heard about lately. My light isn't on. Okay. Is that Biden is considering dropping the corporate tax hike from the infrastructure bill to appease the Republicans. Carlos, what the heck?
Oh my goodness!
What madness is this?
Right, little by little, he's stepping back, and he seems not to be able to understand that the Republican Party they don't want to do no form of compromising whatsoever. It's either their way or their highway, and it is unfortunate because this is exactly the kind of problems that President Obama at that time ran into, is that he couldn't, even though that he had majority, he couldn't get nothing through, and he started caving in to the Republicans, trying to compromise on everything, trying to be a nice guy, and eventually, we know the rest of the story. And that's exactly what's happening here. You cannot compromise. You cannot play nice. You cannot try to meet Republicans in middle ground. Why? Because they have no interest in compromising. They have no interest in giving an inch, not a centimeter. They don't want to go. They are not going to be nice with us, with the people. We see that how they doing right now, Margaret. This is interesting. Including with the unemployment. There's 27 states that had, pretty much done away with their unemployment benefits for the people. That tells you the kind of mentality that Republicans have, and they're not going to give in. And again, I think that the more Biden tries to play nice to them, the more he's going to run into problems, because other members of his own party are giving in and are pretty much taking the soft stand, just like to the representatives that have make it very difficult to do anything, including, we're seeing that the filibuster that they have exercised, that Republicans have exercised uh, those rights that they have, and we had 35 Republicans that pretty much uh, did whatever they needed to do not to go move forward Biden's agenda. So that's the problems that they're going to have.
Yeah, and just a reminder to our viewers that Donald Trump, when he was president, and the Republicans had the Senate, they cut the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21% in 2017. So Biden's original ask wasn't even to take it back up to 35%. He's like asking for I think 28%. Yeah, so he's in the infrastructure bill. They're asking for 28% to increase to 28%, not even 35%. So he's willing to cave and just say like, oh, okay, we'll just stick with whatever Trump and the Republicans did in 2017, which is absolutely appalling because we need to pay for things, and right now there's a lot of stimulus money that has gone out to corporations, like especially under Donald Trump. In the first stimulus bills, like over $1 trillion went out to these very rich people, and that money is just being invested in stocks or whatever, but it's not being invested in people. So then that causes a problem for our economy, and we're seeing this inflation that's happening. So we need to bring some of that money back, right? We need to bring it back into the government. We need to use it to pay for things that will help people. And and Biden is caving and basically saying it's okay what Trump did. And I think, Carlos, the obvious answer here is to abolish the filibuster, put an end to the filibuster. But again, the Biden administration refuses to put any pressure on Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema, I believe that's her name, her last name, because why? What is the excuse? It's just so hypocritical because you see how much pressure they put on AOC and other members of the squad to fall in line. But then when it comes to these two senators, it's like, oh, we have no power at all. We can't tell them what to do. Oh, yes, you can. You can just say, we're not going to fund your campaign next year. Good luck, right? Because Manchin doesn't want to do anything that's going to upset the Republicans. And it's so obvious, the people, if any people in this state need help, it's the people, his constituents in Virginia. That's one of the poorest white populations in the entire country. It just doesn't make any sense, other than Mitch McConnell and these two so-called Democrats they just want to sabotage any possible chance to help the country, which is just really sad, Carlos, because our infrastructure is just a disaster. And the other thing that's mentioned in this article is that Biden is asking for over $1 trillion for infrastructure, which Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has come out saying, this is a good start, but it's not enough for what we need to do, especially with climate change. Our infrastructure is so bad, it just won't withstand the damage that will come from climate change.
Right.
But the Republicans, my point is the Republicans don't even want it to be $1 trillion. They're trying to push that down to with a 900 something billion. Go ahead. Sorry.
Everything they do, they counter. And if the Biden administration had not waken up to this, they in for a rough ride, because again, nothing is going to get done. They done a little bit. They done nothing huge, that we can say wow, we have something great. But it is unfortunate that this is happening. And here's the clear thing that we need to see is that the danger of the Democratic Party is that they have too many centrists. We got too many people in the middle, and this is why they cannot get nothing done. They need to go to the left, and that's the end of the story. They need to take on the progressive issues, because that's what's going to win for them. We have this, right?
Yeah, we do. It looks like Aram is here with us. Hello, hello, hello. Let me take this off the screen and then we could say hi. So good to see you. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Good, good, good. Thank you so much for having me here.
So,
I
so
was tuning
tell,
into what you were saying with regards to getting centrists out. That's our big struggle out here too in Riverside County.
yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Thank you for coming on the show today, and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in organizing. I see you've got a couple of Bernie signs back there on your wall, which is really great. And tell us what made you decide to run for city council.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got started in organizing probably like a lot of young people my age with Bernie's campaign back in 2015. I, along with a friend of mine from the University of California, Riverside, we founded one of the first college Bernie Sanders clubs here in the Inland Empire. So that was just an amazing time. We were kind of brought in with the whole push for healthcare access and also access to free public college. That's what brought us on board in the first place. And, we got a lot of students who really, vibed and kind of clamored to that message because there was no one else talking about these issues at the time. And that's how we got involved. We founded a chapter at UC Riverside. We ended up recruiting like over 50 students who ended up joining the club. We worked with the Bernie Bus Brigade and a few other groups to go to 3 different states, knocking doors for Bernie Sanders in Arizona, Nevada. And really met a lot of amazing organizers along the way. And for the first time, I really felt like we had, at least for myself, someone speaking to our issues, right? Usually politicians love to kind of throw around performative statements and, not really follow through. But Bernie had a record of following through. Bernie had a real approach that we believed in. So that's how I got involved. And then, I stayed active in organizing circles and advocacy after that, especially around higher education advocacy and access to, healthcare infrastructure. And I also joined DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, a few years ago, just kind of as a continuation of that advocacy work. And when the pandemic hit, I started working for Riverside County Department of Public Health with COVID response, just helping families, small businesses, healthcare workers, essential workers who had been impacted by COVID-19, and seeing the effect that the pandemic had both on a health and economic level for our local families, and seeing that families were struggling to pay the rent or pay utilities or put food on the table, living 1 or 2 blocks away from their current council members. That's what really motivated me to run. I thought I could do a better job. I could be more responsive, and I could be there for my community when they needed me the most. So that's what motivated me to run. And here I am today. We're going into our last 2 days before the election. And we've been blessed by a lot of amazing endorsements from Our Revolution California, the Chicano Latino Caucus of the California Democratic Party, a lot of local leaders, especially in the environmental justice and civil rights, advocacy groups. So, yeah, it's a little bit of background.
And what's the political atmosphere out where you are in Riverside? I know that as you go a little bit farther out toward the desert in Southern California, things tend to get a little more Republican in political outlook. So as somebody who is running as a progressive in this particular area, how is the dynamic?
Right. So you're not wrong at all. Riverside County has always been a little bit more conservative than the other California counties. So the Democratic Party out here, unfortunately, very establishment, and they like to pick safe candidates. And unfortunately, that has really, I think, held us back from a lot of those progressive policies that we really need. And the effect has been very noticeable on the Inland Empire. We have obviously one of the highest rates of pollution in the country. Riverside County is the second smoggiest county in the nation because of this over insistence on bringing in warehousing and logistics centers and other things into the city of Riverside. Additionally, some of the worst access to healthcare also within Southern California. Our patient to physician ratio is incredibly low. And we have a really hard time either bringing in or retaining new physicians that graduate from university in the area. And that obviously affects how people have access to healthcare. Now, a lot of that comes from the way our cities approach things. So overwhelmingly, Riverside County has always been pro warehouse, and that pushes away a lot of small businesses, a lot of other individuals that might have a lot of instead of focusing on, like, for instance, bringing in like clean air, green tech, medical industries, the focus is on kind of a short-term profit. So, and the council members directly benefit from that, right? A lot of council members out here, a lot of elected officials directly benefit from the warehouse industry. So just kind of going back to your original question, yeah, the Democratic Party out here is quite established. They like to play it safe, status quo. And the focus is always, oh, well, we can't let a Republican win, so you have to vote for the safe choice, right? And because of that, we stay in a very sort of narrowly defined view of what can be done and how folks can be helped out here.
Absolutely. So why are you running for city council? We understand now kind of the dynamics, the situation out there, but why are you running?
So like I said, I think it's about time. First and foremost, I think it's time Riverside Council had someone who is unbought. And my campaign from the beginning has committed to a 100% grassroots funding. We've rejected corporate PAC money, special interest money, and warehouse developer money, because I think it's very difficult to stand for something if you've accepted a lot of money from outside sources. And it's really hard to take a strong stance on different things. Additionally, we want to show people that, there was, Democrats come in different shades of blue. That just because you're a Democrat does not mean that you're going to fight for progressive values, that you're going to support things like California's single payer healthcare bill, support things like, warehouse moratorium and some aspects of the Green New Deal, support, legalizing cannabis and stopping the criminalization that occurs to this day in our city when the state of California has legalized cannabis. Just really taking a different approach, and the most important part is being a bit of an independent voice on council, because unfortunately the way the Democratic Party works out here is, if you're part of the party, you have to vote the way the party thinks, and you can't step outside of those lines very often. So as a result, I believe a lot of the things that could be happening much quicker take years to happen until Democrats feel comfortable that people won't be too, startled by the issue or too scared about it. But we need this change now, right? We can't wait 10 years to do this because it's politically acceptable.
So go ahead.
No, I was just saying. So that's why that's why I'm running. To be able to be that voice on council.
Yeah, so you made an interesting point about, that the Democratic Party really demands the members or the politicians who are Democrats to fall in line and vote along the agenda that is set within the party. I'm guessing you're running as a Democrat as well. Is that true?
Right. We still have to obviously work within the two-party system.
So
especially here. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is, how are you going to navigate a system like that where the establishment ideas reign true throughout the party, and this is what they want you to support? How are you going to remain true to whatever your positions are as a progressive, as somebody who supported Bernie Sanders, who has, whose interest is within that of the people.
Sure. So, and I think I get that question frequently. For myself, I feel like the election or the movement doesn't stop with me being elected. So one of the things that is crucial for me is making sure that we actually bring other progressives onto the city council and into positions of power within the city, and use my platform to help folks to do so. Because I think what happens a lot is the progressive movement sometimes creates like progressive celebrities or talking heads. And I don't believe in having like individuals lead the movement. I believe the movement is, people based. So the more, obviously I would still be doing what I hope to do as a progressive on the council. But one of my immediate focuses would be making sure that we get progressives on our city boards and commissions, progressives, more progressives elected within city council, within the county itself. And that's really a shared value that DSA has as well, is building a true movement, and not just it's not just throwing all of its hope and prayers into one leader, but into many different leaders right across the community in different aspects, and expanding the base. And I think there's a lot of Democrats, even on our council, that are just afraid to take those stances until someone else does. So being able to push them and pull them in different ways and actually move them on like warehousing or other things, which again, they're coming around to, but just very slowly and cautiously, and very far. I can't talk about that. Oh, maybe I can talk about that after re-election. We have to end that notion. We need to talk about that now, because it's affecting our communities now, not 5 years down the line. So,
Aram, I want to say thank you for you taking the time today to join us, because I know that this is crunch time for your campaign. You are right now literally days away from your election and getting the vote out and all that stuff. So today's a very important day to you. Again, thank you for all the work that you've been doing over the years. I met you back in 2016, like as you say, going to Nevada, to Arizona on those buses, knocking on doors for Bernie Sanders. So our audience obviously is progressives, a lot of the Bernie Sanders people out there. What can we do to help you in these last few days that you have in your campaign?
Sure. Thank you, Carlos. So obviously, we're in our last few days, like you mentioned. Right now, reaching voters is crucial, whether it's through phone banking or through canvassing. If we have local folks in the Riverside area, that's going to be our most crucial aspect. Obviously, donations and stuff are always appreciated, but right now, we're in a moment where we just need bodies on the ground to assist people with ballot delivery, make sure we're closing the deal on those last minute votes, and getting ballots dropped off at the county registrar's office. So if folks here are interested in volunteering, is there a chat feature here that I can just drop the?
Yeah, if you use the private chat, I can then paste it into the public comments.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and drop my email and my contact information in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, folks, we have a really, really good chance of winning this election. We've built up an incredible movement. We've raised a lot more money than folks were expecting us to raise as a smaller independent candidate. And we do, I think, have the best ideas out of this election. Our policy, our opponents don't really have any policy. They're running more on, statements, vague statements that sound good.
More of the same, right?
Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my information in the chat. And if folks can come out, awesome. But if not, nonetheless, really appreciate the opportunity to appear, and would love to continue working with this group. Obviously, DSA is also growing in the area, and I think there's a lot of mutual collaboration that we could do on a lot of different issues.
Yes, definitely. I'll be in touch with you. Thank you, Aram, for being with us today. Some of you, the people that are working with you, tremendous people. We love you so much because they do a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't realize. But
Absolutely.
you are, you are a stronghold over there in Riverside, and we wish you the best.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for having me out.
Yes,
No, thank you for joining us today. And don't forget to put your info in the private chat and I'll paste it over.
I'll be calling you later on today so we can discuss, or I'll be talking to Annabelle and see what else we can do additionally in these last few days. Thank you. My best to you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so now we have our other special guests here. We have Betty Doumas-Toto and we have Shawn Jones. And I think we're going to have an interesting discussion around healthcare and around other things that they're involved with. So Carlos, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about our guests before we give them a chance to tell our audience about themselves.
Yes, so exciting to have these two guests with us today. Of course, Betty Doumas, a personal friend of mine. She is one of the strong advocates for healthcare for all here in California. She's one of those people that are very voiceful when it comes down to the issues that we all care about, and very dedicated. I can never say enough about Betty. We love her so much. We appreciate all her hard work. And Shawn, I just happened to meet him recently in the last few days. I was introduced to him, and he's with a national movement, and we're going to be hearing about this national movement that's taking place, a day of action that's coming up, but it's not going to stop there at the date of action. We're very excited to have our two guests with us today, and again, we are looking forward in being able to continue the great work that is being done. And the message to the people today is that today more than ever, we got to get involved, as we move away from the pandemic, as everything is kind of winding down. We need to stay connected. Very important. And here's one great way to stay connected. So again, we want to welcome our guests. We appreciate both of them being with us on a Sunday. Thank you.
Great. So why don't we start with Betty? I'm going to put you on the big screen, Betty. Don't freak out. So Betty, tell us. You're on mute. First of all, I muted you earlier, so you have to unmute.
I am unmuted now.
Yay! Great.
Hi.
So tell us what you've been up to since the last time we saw you.
Oh, well, thank you very much to both of you for having me and having Shawn on as well. Up to a lot. I believe since we last met, California introduced a state single payer bill, AB 1400. Whoop, God bless you. The California Guaranteed Health Care for All Act. And that is sponsored by the California Nurses Association. Also, that is a subsidy of National Nurses United, and Ash Kalra, who is an assemblyman here in California, and Miguel Santiago and Alex Lee were the primary principal authors of this bill, which is considered by many of the policy wonks to be one of the best single-payer bills, comparable to the national Jayapal bill, which I believe is HR 1976 now. They changed the number on that. They reintroduced it since we last spoke. These bills are, they're just super people-focused bills. The profit is completely out of this. The profit being out doesn't mean that people do not make salaries and do not make money. People confuse this. People say, what do you mean? Because we're so entrenched in this capitalist way of thinking that people go, oh my God, profit out? What do you mean? Really, it's odd. Sometimes it's not that people will not get paid and that people will not get paid well. They're actually just taking the profit component out, which actually constrains the care that you get from your provider, and constrains the affordability for pharmaceuticals and also the coverage. That's what we're talking about. So people will make money, people will earn salaries. It's just that we're taking that out with the AB 1400 and with the Jayapal bill.
Yes. So that sounds like, when I hear stories from people who have certain health conditions, they're like, yeah, all I need is this medication, but it costs $2,000 a month for me, so I can't afford it. So that's like something that you're talking about that could change under this.
Yes, it would change drastically. Right now, one of the most, in my opinion, heinous things, even with Medicare, for our seniors who are most affected, they need medications. They cannot even bulk negotiate with pharma. Okay, so if you can't bulk negotiate, actually the prices, they can set any price they want and change those prices. And we've seen this happen with I forgot the gentleman's name, I don't know what to call him, gentleman, a couple of years ago, who just inflated AIDS medications.
Shankarelli.
Yeah, something like this. He just inflated these prices to whatever he wanted to set it at his own whim. So in California and nationally, we would be able to negotiate the prices of pharma, bringing it way lower. And I would have to say that under AB 1400, you have to understand we're not paying any premiums anymore. We're not paying any copays anymore. We don't have any deductibles anymore. So it is a completely more affordable system that focuses on health and the public's health.
Okay, this sounds really great. So I want to bring Shawn in now, and let's hear a little bit about what he's up to. I know in the bio that I read that Shawn was involved with Force the Vote, so I'm very excited to kind of tie in maybe a little national perspective on this as well, and maybe bring it all together. So Shawn, I'm just going to put you on the big screen now. So thank you for joining us, and tell us about yourself. Tell us about your involvement with Force the Vote and your By the People organization as well.
For sure. So I was one of the quote unquote leaders in the Force the Vote Slack movement. So we had volunteers and everything that showed up. We made a lot of videos, made a lot of phone calls. We helped get a lot of stuff trending and actually get a lot of stuff working. And during that entire process, I was one of the people who started like the onboarding form, filling out, getting engagement. And one of the things I noticed was that a ton of people that were showing up to, actually volunteer were people who have never volunteered before. You know what I mean? These are people who are brand new to the cause, hadn't even phone bank, but were just like, listen, I want to do something to help. You know what I mean? And kind of what ended up happening is it kind of inspired me to just really understand that there is a desire to make change in the world. You know what I mean? That for a very long time, you've always had to kind of wait for the mechanisms, the people in power and one functionality or another to tell you like, oh, it's okay for change to happen now. And with Force the Vote, it was kind of like people just realizing like, no, I can have a say, and I want to have a say, and I will have a say. And so from that, I decided that, I was going to try to see if I could start my own group, and some friends from Force the Vote actually decided to plan a march in DC. And I thought LA was also a very good place because California has a super majority of Democrats, and yet still for some magical reason, we can't get anything done. You know what I mean? And it's just so what I began to realize, one of the major functions of Force the Vote that really kind of clarified something for me was that it really kind of highlighted the discrepancy of what we expect our politicians and our representatives to actually be and what they actually do and accomplish. And I think that like highlighting that for a lot of people really kind of helped clarify the situation, which is, no, we need to take action. That the only way that we're actually going to get any level of change is when we get involved, when we get in the streets and we say, no matter what happens, we're here. This is our country, and we're going to change this country because, we're the people who make this country. It doesn't matter your money if if there's not people to help the flow of capital's not doing nothing. You know what I mean? So it's always people who are here, who are putting in the work, who are putting in the effort and energy. And to be completely candid, as we've seen with the pandemic, It's the people who generally don't get paid a lot who are the people who literally stabilize and make sure everything runs and continues. You know what I mean? We've already seen that this country could run with 50% of the workforce, and they just want to bury that. And they just want to, and it's not the 50% that works at Wall Street. You know what I mean? It's the people who work at the grocery stores and the healthcare industry. It's the nurses. These are the people who keep our society running. And at the end of the day, if we have that kind of power, then I think the only thing that we need to understand is we need to utilize it, bring it to the forefront, and tell other people that this is something that you can do to help, and you can actually change this world. You can help change this country, because when we stand together, when we speak together, we can really speak with one voice. And that's just generally kind of where we're at. So we have a ton of marches, July 24th across the country. We got one in LA that's going to be pretty big, we're hoping. We got one in San Francisco, San Diego. We also are partnering with Whole Washington and Red Berets. So there's one in Washington State. There's another big one, like I said, in DC. And yeah, and what we're really trying to do is we're trying to create a new movement, you know what I mean, that doesn't go away every election year. You know what I mean? We're kind of done waiting for the politicians to make everything okay. And we're here to actually fight to say, like, listen, you may be a politician, but we're the people. You know what I mean? We're here and we want to be heard, and we're going to make sure that we are heard. You know what I mean? And so we're looking to build a coalition and a group of people who's not going to be here just this month or next month or July, but July, August, October, November, December, and then right into January. You know what I mean? And we just continue to get this until we get it. You know what I mean? We don't need to wait any longer. And we don't need to wait for the politicians either. So
yeah. So what I'm hearing is hints of a desire for a general strike, because it sounds like you're talking about, if the people have the power, the workers have the power. You can't run this government, this country, without the workers. You just put down your tools and walk out. Maybe you could teach those corporations a lesson. I would personally, I would love to see this happen.
Yes. No. I just think that, like, real quickly, it's just that people haven't had these ideas yet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like these are stuff. This is stuff that we can 100% do. It's just we've lost the communication. We lost a sense of community and comprehension that we collectively have power. But it's just the reality, and largely is just due to the fact that a lot of people are lied to. Like, people don't understand that, like, money, for instance, is just a tool. You know what I mean? It's something we made up, and now instead of money serving people serve money. And so we just live with it every day, that it seems like normal. But I think overall, over everything, that we could do this. You know, we could do a general strike. The only thing we need is just people to understand how it works. And after they understand it, it's pretty simple. So 100%. And that's what we're also kind of looking for towards By the People also. And
right. Just to keep things into perspective. So we have here in California, of course, we have a bill that will be pushed forward comes January. Very excited about that. We cannot give up on this bill, and I think it's only going to grow more. Now, at the national level, there's going to be a day of call to action. It comes July 24th. Very important, people. So we need to stay focused, because, as I said earlier, as the pandemic winds down, people are going to start, disconnecting. We need to do the contrary. We need to get connected, stay connected. Very, very important. Here is an issue that we all care about: healthcare. Here is an issue that the current administration, the Biden administration, don't really want to take on. It is up to us, the people, for us to push for the issues that we care about, to keep them on the forefront, to make sure that this doesn't go away. And it should not go away, because there are millions of people out there that don't have access to a doctor. There's millions of people out there that cannot afford medication. This is why it's important. So a day of action, July 24th, is not only very important, it moves the needle forward. And this is what we need to keep doing. What are some of the things that are being planned right now? You mentioned some of the cities. This is very exciting. This is where Betty reached out to me and say, hey, there's going to be a day of action, and they're planning to have something in California. I want to be part of that. And that's my attitude. What are some of the things that are being planned already?
I can go, or Betty, if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I could add. First of all, it's called the March for Medicare for all. And you could find us by M for ALL. And we, it is a national effort for a national Medicare for all, but for those states that have a Medicare for all, like single payer bill in action or about to be in action, like or an initiative, like in New York, in Washington State, and here in California, we are going to have a focus on that too, because we feel like wherever this is going to bud from, it's going to spur the rest of the nation. If it's not going to happen on a national level, we need to support the states that are doing this, because we hope that it will roll out to the other states. And that's the way they did it in Canada. In Canada, they did it one province at a time. They started with one province, and now the whole country has what they call their Medicare for system, or Medicare system. So the Medicare for All March here in LA, I'll speak to it because I'm organizing here for the LA efforts, and there will be one in San Francisco and also San Diego. Actually, let me name the cities that will be having them, okay? So it'll be Albuquerque, okay, New Mexico, Asheville, North Carolina, Chicago, Illinois, Denver, Colorado, Detroit, Michigan, Honolulu, Hawaii, Irvine, California, Los Angeles, California, New York City, New York, Portland, Oregon, Phoenix, Arizona, San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, Washington, Tampa, Florida, and Washington, D.C. So nationwide, and for the national bill, and each state that has a bill that is a statewide bill, we will be putting those efforts. And we're hoping here in LA, we'll be going from Hollywood and Highland, and we will have a staging there. We'll start our march there, and we will be going to CNN, which we know CNN likes to block out all progressive voices. And we are going to go to CNN, and then we're going to march past there and go to Plummer Park, where we will have people that can give more information, tabling. We hope to have some musical entertainment and other important prominent speakers in the movement for Medicare for all. So it's going to be a fantastic day for people to hit the streets for Medicare for all. And as we know right now, which is so disheartening, we have we're coming out of a pandemic, hopefully. We're coming out here. Hopefully, California, June 15th is the date that we're opening, right? And many people are vaccinated. What is the response from our government? What is the response? There's no response to public health. The fact is our healthcare system is for profit only. We have to scramble to address public health issues. No proper PPE for our healthcare providers. Short-staffed health nurses in the hospitals. Not a really efficient way to roll out the vaccine. And here in California, at least we had some leadership that is able to do that better than some others. But the fact is that we have nothing. People don't even know where to go if they got sick. What hospital am I going to go to if I get sick? That is ridiculous, because what is my policy going to cover? They're not even sure if they're going to be covered for everything. And now we're finding out that because of this greed in our system, people who thought they would be covered underneath COVID emergency funds are not. They're getting billed by their hospitals. They're getting huge bills and not understanding what is, what am I supposed to be paying and what am I not?
Betty, you make such good points, and I want to just kind of highlight or narrow in on a couple of them. This like the fact that we have been in a pandemic, like we had this crisis and it was a health crisis. And the response to it is to ignore the health aspect of it, the health solutions, which is the obvious one is Medicare for all. And also just like, as it's kind of been touched on, is California, the so-called progressive state in like the most progressive state in the country, doesn't even have Medicare for all or some kind of health care for all on the state level. I mean, what is going on? What is this? Why are Democrats pretending like this is not an issue when the majority of their party, their constituents, want this to happen? And I mean, I think some of us know the answer, but I'm kind of like poking you a little bit here.
Historical. And it's money in politics. There's a lot of influence. We have insurance companies that are, that really, donate to campaigns. We have pharmaceutical companies that donate to campaigns. Really, to be honest with you, we have a majority of people here in California that want Medicare for all, and they are just not listening. And I do actually totally agree with the general strike. But right now, this Medicare for all march is like our general strike. We are going to get out into the streets. The people, this is a by the people, just like Shawn's organization's name is, it's by the people. This is not one set organization doing this. This is people across a broad spectrum of ideals, that the one main thing that they know is that during a pandemic, they were left without health care if they lost their job. You lose your job during a pandemic and then you have no health care. And what are you supposed to do? Pay for Cobra? Cobra is like a safety net? That's not a safety net. Thousands and thousands of dollars it costs to be on Cobra. Nobody can afford that when they don't have a job. And even with Medi-Cal, I want to just say with Medi-Cal, there are certain things about Medi-Cal, even though that is supposed to, help people that can afford, it doesn't help everyone. And especially our undocumented folks. There's a lot of undocumented folks that can't get this care, and they pay taxes and they can't get that. And the other thing is Medi-Cal, they do make you pay back certain things at a certain age. They make you pay back if they, take your assets. This is Medicare for all is not, free,
Wow. I didn't know that about Medi-Cal. That's horrifying. Carlos.
Yes, definitely. Shawn, I'm very interested to hear from you. I mean, you such a strong voice for this for the movement right now, the national movement, to be able to bring the attention on a specific date. But we understand and we know that this is not about a single day, July 24th. It's going to go beyond July 24th. But right now, and the reason why we're here today is to talk about July 24th, because we had to take steps to move forward, and we had to take those steps even when no one else wants to do it. The government doesn't want to do it. They don't want us to be out there. They don't want to hear from us. Why this is so important?
Because we need to come together, and the marches are just kind of an event to just be like, you know what, we're here, you know what I mean, and I want to be involved, and so what they're there to do is to bring attention to a lot of the issues, and to bring attention to the issues of particular politicians, maybe in California, who've taken a great deal of money from the health insurance industry. I remember a few years ago, the California head of the Democratic Party was actually like a healthcare lobbyist or used to work for the healthcare industry. And, it's just like, oh, this makes sense. This is like real representative democracy for corporations in the pharmaceutical industry. And, and it's about really giving people the capacity to be like, no, your voice is heard. Your voice does matter. And we're here to let you know you're not alone. You know what I mean? And so we can really kind of build up that momentum and let people understand in one capacity or another that this is their country. You know what I mean? That this is their capacity to take change. They can do it. And a lot of the times, honestly, it's just because of the fact, and another reason that we're targeting CNN, first off, they have heads of the pharmaceutical industry on their freaking board of directors. It's why they have like 8,000 drug commercials. You know what I mean? Like daily, because of the fact, like at the end of the day, they're on the take. And what we need to do is we need to show people that we can create our own system of communication, because what the corporate media has done, and even to some degree Netflix and not Netflix, sorry, Twitter and YouTube and Google, what they've done is they've silenced progressive voices or left-wing voices because of the fact they realize that we're dangerous because we tell the truth. You know what I mean? We're here actually giving people real solutions to their real problems. And the fact is that the people in charge, the corporation, they don't want people even thinking that there are solutions. So we want to highlight it for CNN and for everybody else. If we could get 8,000 to 10,000 people outside of CNN and CNN refuse to cover it, we're going to make sure we're going to cover it. We're going to make sure everybody knows that CNN is refusing to talk about healthcare during a pandemic after a third of the people, nearly 200,000 people, would have been saved live, still be alive today if we had Medicare for all. But instead of that, they would rather continue this bipartisan. No, they're forget even bipartisan. They're still talking about January 6th. They're still talking about January.
Oh my gosh, I know.
So
And look at, never mind CNN. There's others too, but we had
and Trump. They keep talking about Trump.
NBC.
Yes.
Years been talking about Hillary Clinton and all that stuff. It's like, look, there's a lot of distractions out there. The reality of the matter is that the issues that affect our families, the issues that affect you, the issues that affect our communities don't go away.
Yes.
They want symbolic stuff. They want to put a band-aid to things. And Margot, you hit it right on the nail, mija. This is, the pandemic is a health crisis. And for crying out loud, we're coming out of a health crisis with trillions of dollars that have been lost and spent, and we have nothing to show for. Nothing. That is that is unreal. And all we're gonna get is a whole bunch of band-aids. This is what's important for us to show our concern, for us to be visible. Betty, you know about visibility, the importance of us to stay, visible and our voices being raised, because that's the only way that we get, things done and building pressure on the people.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just because of the fact politicians at this point in time, the only thing they care about is PR. And as long as they can keep their good PR, they're good. But if we, the people, begin to come out and talk with one another and say, listen, you know what I mean? Let's build community. You know what I mean? And it's something that's been lost. Let's build community. Let's build with one another, and let's stand and fight for one another. You know what I mean? Like the way I've kind of put it, and the way I think a lot of people like to think of it, is like we all knew what was going to happen on January 21st that Bernie Sanders was president. People always thought that we're just going to vote for Bernie and 21st we would be in the streets, we were all playing, we all knew it, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, Bernie's elected, but we're going to be in the streets. And then I think a whole bunch of us just kind of collectively realized, like, none of us went anywhere. Why don't we just do it anyways? You know what I mean? And so I think, and I think that's kind of the energy we're like, why not? Why not? Like Bernie's there, defended Joe Biden. Listen, the thing that Bernie gave us all is each other. So I think that we're still okay. You know what I mean? And I think that we still have a
absolutely. I think, Bernie, as a politician, he plays the game, right? So we have to take that for what it is. But he did give us a gift. He made it possible for us to all realize that we have something that we can unite behind, and these ideas are popular, and that we can also be like Bernie, and we can seek office if we want to, or we can organize. I mean, so many people started organizing because of his campaign. So we have to. I like to focus on the positives more than anything, because politics are politics in this country. But one of the things I wanted to get back to was this. You're talking about the media and the fact that they ignore these issues on purpose. And I see a very strong parallel between the fact that they ignore this issue of Medicare for all, and that in the same way that they ignore the issue of climate change. And these two are also interconnected. The more that we destabilize the environment, the more likely it is for us to see these viruses hop over from one species to our species. I mean, these once in 100-year things that happen, it's not just a once in 100-year flood that is now like a once in a 50-year flood. It's like, these once in 100-year pandemics can now become something that happens more than just once in 100 years, maybe once in 50 years. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that, these things are happening because of climate change, and the fact that our corporate media is so willing to ignore these issues is just at the detriment of our society overall, and really the global health of the planet and our species survival. So it's great to see the motivation. I'm really, really happy about that. And I just think it's so hypocritical, right, for these media groups, because they always say like YouTube puts things like, oh, this is a Russia funded, state funded television or whatever, like China funded television or something. But I mean, like, what about corporate funded television? I would love to see a note on there like CNN corporate funded, like MSNBC owned by Disney or GE or whatever, right? Like there are vested interests in these corporate media outlets, and we should know about those too. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
100%. One of the things that By the People is going to be looking to do in the future, because we're looking to hit stuff like climate change and all this stuff. The general objective and goal is to try to make a space for everybody. DSA, Black Lives Matter, whatever. If you want to do something outside of that organization and talk to other people, what we really want to do is create a single space where anybody and everybody could come and talk and really engage. Because like you were talking about, like climate change, I don't think that they're ever going to talk about it, because the one thing that I realize is they really bring up the true severity of how bad the climate is. And they really actually told the American public and the American people how bad it really was. What would end up happening is the amount of change that would happen in society. You would have to have people who question the media, the politicians, the entire capitalist system, all the corporations, and and the entire society. We had to come to a reckoning that we got very few years to turn this around. And we're talking about preventing extinction. The thing is the people in power right now have structured this entire system as a system of oppression. And the only way it works is that people continue to think along the same lines. You know what I mean? They think the same thing they thought yesterday, the day before, the day before. If you really begin to talk about climate change, what you do is you upheave the entire system from the ground up, because of the fact in order to do this, it has to be not only a national movement of like entirely change of comprehension and consciousness, but you have to have it on a global scale. People have to look at the entire world differently. And when people begin to look at the entire world differently, and they look at a system that's about to allow their children to go into a hell that, that none of us could really comprehend, what ends up happening is people begin to question those in power. And that very action of actually convincing and telling the American public the truth, I think would destabilize the system. So the people on top would not be on top, because of the fact, it's like renovating the bottom of the skyscraper. You know what I mean? Something's going to fall over eventually, and that's what it's going to take. And they will try to prevent that in any capacity they can. They had 5 hurricanes, and just to your point real quick, and I'll let you guys, we had 5 hurricanes going on like within a week, and CNN was like, yes, this is very weird and unusual. Like, really? Is it a little weird? I don't know. Maybe there's something going on here. Oh, the sky's turning red in freaking California? Like, this is not looking great.
Climate
This
change
really stresses the point of the intersectionality of Medicare for all, and how having a Medicare for all system will help address these issues of climate change, the issues of the violence in our criminal, I don't want to say it, justice system, say criminal
injustice system is more like it.
Are all health issues. These are healthcare issues. And I just want to let people know, I don't know if I did this in the beginning, but I do organize with Healthcare for All Los Angeles. They are a statewide organization, Healthcare for All California, but we are actually participating in coalition with the March for Medicare for All. And we hope that we have other organizations that will sign on with the March for Medicare for All, and or their membership individuals, to help us as a coalition and build those coalitions. Like Shawn said, this is open to anybody. This is nonpartisan. It's about Medicare for all. If you believe that we need this system, get out onto the streets, come with us, join us for this march in Los Angeles and in the other cities that I mentioned. And we'll be I hope that we can drop some links. I can't do the comments right now for some reason. I guess I didn't sign in, so
No problem.
But
I pasted them already for you.
Oh, thank you so much. So Healthcare for All Los Angeles has been continuing this fight, especially for AB 1400s. That's what we're focusing on. That's the Guaranteed Healthcare for All Act tonight on our Facebook page. It's Healthcare for All Los Angeles, or HCA Los Angeles. We live stream office hours where people can come and ask questions about the bill from the nurse and the doctor who are in the house for office hours, and ask any questions you want. We're on for 2 hours between 5 and 7. Just come on and leave, ask your question, get it answered, and jump off. But join us for that. And this Medicare for All March, you want to organize one in your own city, contact us, get to the website, reach out to us. Reach out to us on social media. If you want to join us, sign up to join us. And please help us help us with some funds. We do need, this is all people powered, but it still takes money to do so. So, make a donation. That'd be great. And even to Healthcare for All Los Angeles, we're all volunteers. We're all volunteers for both the March for Medicare for All and Healthcare for All Los Angeles. We're all just people powered organizations and movements.
Did we lost Shawn?
I think we did. I don't see him.
Okay.
See, he might come back.
Yeah, I mean, we have other organizers here. I want to give a shout out, please, if I could, to Joan Mason, Elizabeth Mayer, Edie Arndale, Tsukurua Four, and Andre Stackhouse. They've been doing a lot of organizing here in California and Los Angeles. There are many other organizers across that are just, they're just fantastic people putting this all together, and to grow this, I hope that, because for Medicare for All, I hope we get it in place. I hope I hope we can move on to something else afterwards, because I want it done. That's what things, I want it done.
Yeah, definitely we have our work cut off for us, and this is why we're here. And I want to be able to reiterate the things that we are saying. We have a National Day of Action for Medicare for All, to continue to push for the voice of those people that have no health care. So July 24th has been set. There are multiple states that will be joining in. Can you rename those cities that have already that are already joined into the different into the National Day of Action? Can you rename those?
Yes.
And we need to hear from Shawn one more time. What can we do to get involved?
Okay, so if you can if you go on the website, there's going to be a link to the Slack. If you so it's going to be volunteer. Click the volunteer link. It'll link you directly over to the Slack, which you can join. It's the By the People Slack. On there is Shawn Jones. Any questions, anything you want to get to, want to know to get involved, or how you can help, or just want to talk, always open. DMs are always open. Past that, I would just want to actually put out a call real quick. If anybody knows of an organization or disability activists, we are still looking for disability activists to be a speaker at the LA March, because of the fact we do think that should be 100% representation there. You know what I mean? To really give, the people who are most affected and impacted by this, inherently corrupt system, to give them the voice and give them the stage, because we need to remember who's at the forefront of this fight. So so get involved, and I'd love to see you guys there. So July 24th, it's Hollywood Boulevard and Highlands is where it's going to start. So yeah,
I can name off those cities if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Sure, please.
Okay, so we'll be, of course, here in Los Angeles. We'll be also in Washington, D.C. and Seattle, Washington. We'll be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Asheville, North Carolina, Chicago, Illinois, Denver, Colorado, Detroit, Michigan, Honolulu, Hawaii, Irvine, California, New York City, New York, Portland, Oregon, Phoenix, Arizona, San Diego, California, Tampa, Florida, Washington, D.C. And if, like I said, if you want to have one in your city, just let us know ASAP. And you can contact us on the website, which is M4M4ALL, M4M4all.org. And you can contact us there and sign up to be a volunteer, or just sign up to participate and show up. We need people to show up and be at the march and rally.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Betty. Thank you so much, Shawn, for joining us today. We are out of time now, but it's been an absolute pleasure having both of you on here. And it's so great to be able to talk about Medicare for all, because it's just so ignored and it seems like nobody is doing anything about it. But it's great, at least, like, you know, the people, I mean, nobody's doing about it on the legislative level, like the national level, like the national discourse seems to have just completely developed some sort of amnesia over healthcare in this country. So it's just fantastic to remind people that there are still those of us out there working very hard to get this passed, and that we must be engaged as much as possible, because healthcare is a human right. Without it, we will never be able to have the life that we want to have. So thank you, Betty. Thank you, Shawn. Do you have any final thoughts before we sign off today?
You guys aren't buying that we have FDR as president right now? I don't know.
What?
That's it.
Don't even go there.
Healthcare is a human right. You know, it is a human
But they
right.
said it with words. I'm sorry.
Please, I had a really nice breakfast this morning. I don't want to throw up.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for allowing us to let people know that there are many people out here that want Medicare for all, and that we will, be out on the streets. And please join us. And yes, healthcare is a human right. And I think people are understanding that more and more. I think it's falling on the deaf ears of the legislature and the people that we have put in power. And they need to know that we will take them out of power, because we're going to grow this movement, and it's growing and growing every single day. And that will manifest on July 24th.
100%.
Perfect. Carlos. Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, Shawn.
I was just gonna say you should never be too poor to afford to continue living. You know what I mean? It's making money off somebody's cancer, like literally. Oh, you have cancer. How can I make? There should not be a profit motive there. But it's sadly that the capitalist system is very cannibalistic, and it's about, like, the only value that a human being has is the external value that can be determined by things and money. But I think that there's a lot of I don't think that's the reality of the country, and I think that that message of like caring is something that we'll carry. You know what I mean? So and just really appreciate both of you guys having us. It's honestly been a pleasure talking with you guys, and yeah, thank you for all of this. So yeah.
Thank you, Shawn. Carlos.
Yes. So I want to say thank you to our guest. Thank you to Aram that was with us earlier. He's running for, again, City Council in Riverside. And we are going to be dropping the links so that you can see how you can help him in his election. But thank you to Betty for all the hard work that she's been doing alongside with so many incredible people here in Los Angeles that has been really pushing for Medicare for all. I want to say thank you to Shawn for taking the time on Sunday to be with us and to share some of his thoughts and some of the work that is being done at the national level. Remember this, folks, that again, the system is not afraid of Bernie Sanders. They're not afraid of Bernie Sanders. They're afraid of us, all of us. When we come together, that's what they're afraid of. That's what they're really afraid of. So we have to remember that we have the power, and the power comes when we come together. That's the real power right there. When we are divided, we have no real power. We have to continue to come together. What a better way to do that in July 24th, to be able to be together so that we can show the world that we are united in one accord, and knowing that, we will continue to be on the streets, and we'll continue to be fighting at every level, whether it be political or in whatever system that we are in. We're going to continue to fight together, and that's how we're going to win. So I want to say thank you to everybody on this beautiful Sunday. Take care of yourselves. We love you guys, and we hope that you can join us on July 24th.
Absolutely. So thank you to our guests. Thank you to our viewers for staying with us through this hour. You've been watching Stand Up Fight Back. I'm Margot Paez. I am one of the co-hosts, and this is Carlos Maruquin right there. He's the other co-host on this awesome show. We've had some amazing guests today talking about running for local politics. Yeah, I know. I got it this time. I got it. Finally. And of course, talking about healthcare and Medicare for all. So please get involved. Please run for office. You have the right ideas, and we need people like you. We need people power. We need to make the change because there are a lot of demoralized people in this country, unfortunately, because of climate change, because they don't see anything happening for them. And we have to act before too many of us fall into that state of mind. So please wear a mask and get vaccinated if you haven't already, because the pandemic is not over yet, but we're getting there. So really go out there, get your shots. They hurt a little bit, but it doesn't last forever. So thank you, and make sure to wear a mask. We'll see you next week on Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Goodbye, everyone, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.